Welcome back to my channel. I'm Vicky, and I usually talk about all things fragrance, body care, and all the things, but I'm gonna do a book review for my September reads. So if you're interested, then just keep on watching. So September, I had some really good, juicy books that I was reading. So September started out with Lucid Dreams from Lady Nisha. Just give Lady Nisha her things. Give her her things. Give her her flowers. She's going to give you some drama. She's going to give you some trauma. She's going to give you a story, okay? We're going to be on a roller coaster. So, there's a set of twin brothers. They go by night and day. And then there's a very traumatic upbringing between abuse, neglect, and witnessing things that kids really should never have to witness. So they had to grow up fast, hard, and it's just, they are now in adulthood finding different methods to cope with their trauma. So there's some substance abuse going on in here. Now, in addition to the twins, there is Hunter, who she has her own traumas that she has to grow up with. And Hunter and Knight end up meeting. Now, I'm trying to remember where they actually met. I don't know if they met at a party or like initially or whatever. But I know they end up linking at a party and things just took its course from there. They had an interesting way of coming together, and another thing to note is Hunter is a single parent, and why that's important. If you read the story, you'll see how that plays a role in her relationship with Knight. He's not the child's father, but her having a son plays a role in them kind of being able to connect. And the story kind of comes together when we find out that they have something in common that they learn, and it's not good. Okay, all hell breaks loose, literally. But Lady Nisha has a way of telling a story where she can wrap up all the things, like I said, trauma, drama, abuse, and add humor to it. She has an amazing way of telling stories. This is my third or fourth book from Lady Nisha. Give her her things. She has a way of telling you a story, a deep story, but also with the additional element of humor. It's much more palatable. Amazing book. Highly recommend reading it. Okay. So next, I started the series Product of the Streets from E. Bowser. There's 5 parts, but I read 4 during September. So they're all interconnected or whatever, but parts 1 and 2 is really the story of Henny, Oz, Tali, and Shandia. So, Product of the Streets. How do I describe this? I think the author had it listed as street lit. So there's some erotica / street lit elements to this story. 'Cause reading the description and reading the book, it's some things that don't get mentioned in the description, okay, that you learn about in the book. And it is very adult. Very adult. So the overall background of the Product of the Street series, there is the UCK Kings, Union City Kings. So it is Henny, Oz, Fax, Link, and Chantel, who are the Union City Kings. They all have their own little lanes of things that they do. So Henny is an actual medical doctor who owns a private hospital. So he goes by Henny, Hendrix, Dr. Pharma. He's like a legit doctor. And then Oz runs, what are we going to call this? An adult club, you know, where you got to sign NDAs to get in. There's other activities that happen in there, other types of solicitations and barter for information. There's a lot that happens in that club. Okay. Fax is ex-military, runs weapons, has like, I think he has a security company. Link is our techie. He can hack into just about anything, and he also runs a casino. And Chantal is I forgot what she does business wise, but she also has a special relationship with Oz. He is her dom, but they don't have like actual relations. There's a lot of build up to that, so she leaves very pent up. Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of BDSM content in here, so if that's something that you're not open to reading about, tread lightly, because there's a lot of it in here. Okay. A lot of different kinks I never knew existed. There's like some warning, not just warnings, but like info in the beginning of the book so that you're aware of the kinks that come in the following pages. Okay. Now, on some random night, Shandia ends up at a card game with the Union City Kings. And then that's how she meets and connects with Oz. So they end up being a thing, like a couple in the story. So Shandia ends up bringing her sister in to one of the card games because she was giving her the rundown. So her sister, Tali, and Henny, they end up becoming a thing as well. Okay. So that's books 1 and 2. There's so much more that happens in here. A lot of family secrets and a lot of shoot 'em up bang bang. It's a lot happening in here. I don't want to give too much away, but it is an amazing series to read. Like, for real. Aside from all the erotic, I feel like it makes a story, because in my mind I'm like, okay, if it's not just erotica, there's some depth to this. Okay, there's a lot going on. Then we get into books 3 and 4, and that's more so about Fax, Link, Mala, and Scent. So Mala is actually Henny's cousin. Their mothers are sisters. And Henny's mother... No, I lied. Yes, Henny and Mala are cousins, but I think Henny's mother is unalived, and Henny is raised by Mala's mother. So while they're cousins, they're kind of more like siblings. And Mala's mother and Chantal's mother are best friends. So Henny, Mala, and Chantal kind of grow up as like this sibling dynamic. But Henny and Mala are still cousins at the end of the day. Now, 3 and 4 is Fax and Scent. They become a thing. And Link and Mala are a thing. Scent is like a a nursing assistant of some sort at the private hospital that Henny runs. And she ends up meeting Tali at the hospital. So I left a major part out. Shandia and Tali, they met Henny and Oz at the beginning of book 1, but they leave town, like they move away for several years, and then they come back when their mom gets sick. So that's how they run. At least that's how Tali runs back into Henny, because Oz and Shandia kept in touch all that time, just like as friends as far as she knew, but he was plotting on her from day one. But yes, there's a lot of interconnected things happening. There's gonna be a lot of dots to connect in this series, but it is so good. The spice, 11 out of 10. Yeah, have an open mind. All types of kinks I didn't know existed. A lot of them not my thing, but interesting seeing other people act these out. And just know that after reading this, I might officially identify as a mango. I might. Okay, don't judge me. We're going to move on. We're going to move on. But that series is extremely spicy. So, yeah. All right. Next is Pretty Hurts from Alicia J. So, trigger warning for this one. There is self-harm that happens in here. And I ain't gonna lie, I did cry at the end. I absolutely did. I'm not gonna lie to you. So there's Pretty, her, I think, older sister lyric. I can't recall if Pretty is the younger sister or older sister. Pretty is the younger sister. Pretty ends up getting this rare disease when she's like 8 or 9, some type of disease that affected the muscles on one side of her face, so they didn't work anymore. So her face was kind of like drooping, so one side seemed normal, had normal functions, and the other side just wasn't working. So she had to go through different like medical procedures and being depressed and all that from what happened to her face. And then as I forgot what age they said she could come back to get like an actual surgery, like reconstructive surgery on her face, because she was so young. She was still developing, so they said like she had to get older for them to do the surgery. So several years, more than a decade goes by. She's like in her mid-20s, I want to say, at this point, well beyond the age they said she can come back at. She gets like a doctor reaches out to her, Dr. Silas, through his mentor, who, once you connect the dots at the end, you understand. But Silas ends up being her plastic surgeon that does her face reconstruction. So he fixes it. She's breaking necks now. And what we learn about the dynamic between her and her sister is her sister holds resentment towards her, probably because of the extra attention and care she got from their mother due to her illness. So you see a very one-sided, evil, like back and forth. So her sister Lyric was, she wasn't a nice person. Okay, in this book, Lyric wasn't so nice. Lyric also had this friend who she wasn't nice to either. It's like, I don't understand how that's your best friend and you treat her like that and she's still around. But her best friend decided to get her lick back at the end, but she took it too far. Okay. She took it way too far. I say all that to say this is a really good book. So I highly recommend reading it. But when we get to the end, we find out some things about Dr. Silas, because him and Pretty end up having a little something happening. But he wasn't honest with her. And he had several chances to be, and he didn't take them. And yeah. And he has to live with the guilt of that when we get to the end of the book. He has to live with that. I feel like the ending, considering the circumstances, was as happy as it could be, but not happy. It was bittersweet. Deep story though. Okay. And then not last, because during September, Issa Rae has, I think, 6 books. It's like a mini series of I Should Be Smarter by Now. So that was like my first time trying something like audio, but I would have it on the Kindle app on my phone so I could have the actual pages so I could read it as it's like she's speaking words. I just couldn't get into it. Like, I got through the first 2. I'm probably like halfway through the 3rd one, and I returned the rest of them. I just stopped reading it and listening, and returned them back to Kindle because I couldn't really get into it. Maybe I could spin the block and just try reading it instead of listening, because the listening is throwing me off. Because I keep thinking I want to try audiobooks, but I notice, like, when I keep hearing people talk and talk and talk, I will start tuning things out. I'm not really listening. So yeah, that was a fail. And last but not least for September is Wreckless Love from Nina. This is the latest, well, I think this published in 2024, but the latest installment of the Porter family. Okay, it's Rec's story. We need trigger warnings for Nina. There's a lot of trauma in the Porter family in general. If you are familiar with the On Us series, so there's 3 books in the On Us. It starts with Front Street Porter, and then there's the 3 On Us books, and then there is Clearwater, and then there's Wreckless Love. So Clearwater, we find out that their father Hassan actually had a daughter that the boys didn't know about until they became adults, which I'm glad, because they're more so on the healed end of the spectrum at this point when they meet Pav. So I'm glad they met her like that. But Wreckless Love is Rec and Gia's story. There's some DV. Okay. Is there unaliving in here? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I guess technically. Yes, there is unaliving. There's Nina know how to give you a story, okay? And again, there's still few bits and pieces of the comedic relief that Nina knows how to come through on, because it's a lot of heavy material. I cried a little bit during here too. Okay, there's a scene where Rec is replaying a voicemail from his mother. You want to talk about bawling, crying? Like, I might start crying again thinking about it. It is a lot. It's so good. Like, I'm still sad that as I read more of like the Porter's books, sad that I won't be able to read Hassan because it was limited edition. But I think that Dem is getting a book. He is the 4th Porter boy, and he's the only one whose story, well, Sav to an extent, but Dem's story hasn't been fully expounded upon yet. We just know he suffers from the same mental illnesses as his father, and part of how he seems to be coping is having a lot of children. Okay. But yes, Wreckless Love, amazing. Like, such a great story, like a great addition to the Porter series. And I feel like if you were into, do I want to box this in as urban fiction? I don't know. But yeah, there's some romance, it's some violence, but it's just get into Nina, okay? Get into Nina. All right. And I'm going to leave it at that. So, those are my September reads. I recommend all of these books / series. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you in the next one.